1924, Calvin Coolidge was president. The Washington Senators won the World Series, and Prohibition was the law of the land. In Chicago, Al Capone was a rising figure in the mob. In Los Angeles, the city population finally reached 1 million. And in New York, an American institution was born, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Tonight, we celebrate 90 years of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Featuring hosts and some of the biggest stars of the parade. Plus, dozens of the world-famous balloons, fantastic floats, and classic moments from the first 89 parades. And a look forward to this year's 90th. Welcome to Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th Celebration.
So the first parade was Thursday, November 27th, 1924, and it was known then as the Macy's Christmas Parade. So the Christmas theme has always been with it.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade started because of Macy's employees. We had a bunch of employees who didn't have a classic Thanksgiving tradition, so they decided to create one on their own.
They put on their costumes, they had clown outfits, they created these, makeshift floats. They actually borrowed animals from the zoo here in Manhattan, and 100,000 people showed up, and the management was so excited about it. They said, you know what, we're going to make this an annual event.
The original parade route was 6 miles long and started at 145th Street in Harlem, and now it goes for 2.5 miles.
In the early days of the parade, they would actually release the balloons after the parade, and if you found one, you could return it to Macy's and get a cash prize. So it was like a treasure hunt afterwards.
90 years into the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, it still carries with it a sense of magic and innocence and Americana and tradition. There have been a lot of minor changes in the parade over the years, but I think what the strength of the parade is tradition and what hasn't changed. And the fact that the marching bands and the floats and the balloons still are the stars of the show, and the volunteers. I think it's what's old about the parade is what's most comforting about the parade.
I was a host or a co-host of the Macy's Parade for 4 years, 83 to 86.
I hosted the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for 15 years.
I'm gonna guess probably 10, but it might be more, might be fewer, but I'm gonna guess at least 10.
13 in all, and I was in the parade twice as a participant.
I can't believe it, but this is going to be my 5th year hosting the parade.
I think this is the 19th time I have hosted Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Wow, it's kind of hard to believe, but I've been part of this parade now for 21 years. Wow.
Can you believe it's almost Thanksgiving again?
We have a table read where we all get together and we go through every single line so that we know what's coming on the morning of the parade.
Well, I want to welcome everybody to the official script reading of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
The producers of this show are so experienced and they know exactly what to expect. And so by the time they show us a script of the parade, they've done all the homework.
I think every element that we have for this year is just spot on for a great presentation.
What the production team does in terms of making sure those floats pass in front of the camera at the right time, that those bands are cued on time, that is an incredible feat.
We have it down to the second about which performance, how long. We know the order. We want to get it just right.
Kool-Aid Man also has some cool numbers to contemplate. He has 4 fingers, 3 ice cubes, and 6s for eye. 6 what?
So it's really our job just to get familiar with the names and the places and the balloons and things like that, and then go just try to add an element of fun to what's already a really fun script.
Here's a look at what used to roll up to fires. It's a vintage Model T Ford fire truck from 1924, the year of Macy's first parade and Matt's first hosting gig. The preparation is not too difficult. It's actually more fun than anything. But don't tell anyone that. Tell them it's hard work.
There are so many things that happen behind the scenes that people never know and never will know, but we're telling them now. The Friday before the parade, the producers go from theater to theater on Broadway, And they work with these casts to make sure that everything will go according to plan. On Sunday night, the trucks come in and they build a whole studio. Monday night and Tuesday night, the street in front of Macy's is closed, and that's when the miracle on 34th Street really begins. All the acts, they come and rehearse. Then on the big day, that's when things really get cooking, at least when it comes to the parade, and probably in a lot of kitchens at home.
On the morning of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Savannah and I kind of do a preview of the parade.
So we do 2 hours of today, and then we go right into the parade, straight from there. So it's kind of a long morning, but it's amazing how fast it goes by.
Let's go back downtown for the best of Broadway.
Hey, Al. No more Starbucks, pal, okay?
Al's guy, he's ready for the parade. Matt is Matt, and he's so serious, and he's so professional, and he's a journalist, but he loves the parade, and that attitude and that energy is really infectious.
Every year at that time, rain, shine, cold, warm, doesn't matter, there's some little trigger that starts the excitement in us, and we feel like kids again.
For the first year sharing the hosting duties is my Today Show colleague, Matt Lauer.
Thank you very much.
First year, I was part of the broadcast team for the parade. I was nervous, I remember, because I was taking over that role from Willard Scott, who had done it so well for so many years.
It'll be my first time broadcasting the parade, my first time seeing it live as well. I'm excited about it.
I think the most challenging part of hosting the parade is it's a live show, and there are a lot of moving parts.
We were so busy, studying the script and the next page and trying to keep up. Had to make sure you weren't announcing the Cuyahoga Band while the Pittsburgh Symphony was on.
You'll cue me in the ear right when I go back. I'm on. I think I'm back right now, my own ear. I just cued myself.
When I used to host the parade with Willard, I would always have to hit him on his stomach because he would just go off on these tangents.
There's an old expression when it comes to Katie, when a bear loves a bear, he says it with a slap.
I remember thinking I was both stage manager and host when I would do the parade with Willard.
They're always a challenge because the objective is to try to add something without getting in the way.
To be perfectly honest, the most challenging thing about hosting the parade is not getting too wrapped up in the parade. There are times when I'm looking over my shoulder at something that's coming around the corner by Herald Square to where we are at the finish line, and I want to watch it. And I'm constantly reminded, get back, you've got to look on camera, you've got to get back to the script.
A lot of people ask, what's the toughest part of hosting the parade? And I got to be honest, there is none. It's fun, it's tradition.
I respected the parade. I loved the tradition of it. I know what it meant to families to get up in the morning on Thanksgiving Day and watch that. So I tried to treat it with respect, but I also tried to have a little fun with it too.
The whole crew is so much fun to work with. So even if there are little snafus here and there, it's Thanksgiving, it's a parade, and everybody is there to have a good time.
It's just such an iconic event in American history, and it happens on this beautiful holiday that we all share. And to get to be in people's living rooms is just one of the best perks of the job.
Coming up.
All-time favorite balloon, Bullwinkle.
You get up at like 5. You're so freezing.
A Macy's representative goes to their high school and announces that they have been selected to be in the parade.
When Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th celebration continues.
I think it's so wonderful and exciting when bands are selected, high school marching bands, to participate in the parade. First, they have to submit an audition tape. There are hundreds from all over. Then, a full year before the parade takes place, a Macy's representative goes to their high school and announces that they have been selected to be in the parade. It is a huge deal.
And these bands are unsuspecting. They had no idea that they're being part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. All the kids start stumbling into the band practice room, and they're like, who are the suits on the stage? And we go through this tease of who we are and why we're there.
It's my job to shine a bright light, a national spotlight, on some of the best music programs in the country.
I get up and start talking about this really exciting thing that happens in a big city on the East Coast.
And I've been flying around all week to schools to share some really special news. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yes! Start teasing it, and then eventually say,
it is with great pride
and it is with great pleasure that I announced this morning,
for the first time in the school's history,
Rockford High School Marching Band has been selected
to represent this university and the great state of Ohio, the great state of Mississippi,
the great state of Michigan, the great state of Illinois,
and perform in New York City in the 2017 Macy's Thanksgiving Day. In the 2017 Macy's Thanksgiving Day.
The 2017 Macy's Thanksgiving Day.
I was amazed. Nobody told us anything. It was the greatest surprise ever.
And I don't think I've felt this much togetherness in the bannerment once ever before.
I think what people at home don't realize is they've had to work so hard to even submit an audition tape, and then they work so hard for a full year before that moment comes and they're walking and playing along the parade route.
See these kids and they're just adorable and they're so full of energy, and you know their moms and dads or cousins are back home looking for their faces on TV. And I think the marching bands, first of all, add great music, but also just that slice of America straight out of the heartland that we really want to make it a truly national event. It's not a New York City event, it's an American event.
Long and hard about what we're going to put in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade when it comes to the inflatables, and we have a lot of fun with all those different elements. The giants in the sky take a lot of time.
It takes 6 to 9 months from the time that you're thinking about what the balloon's going to be until actually having a balloon to fly. Starts with an idea. Start sketching, hand sketches, just little noodles. After a sketch, we go to a clay model, and since they're in scale, all of the calculations and even the patterning can be done from those two models and can be then digitized and produced in full scale. Miles of fabric is cut out on giant cutters and seamed together with heat sealers and rollers, and sometimes by hand. Then they're inflated to be tested, and then they're painted. Finally, we do a test.
Come forward across from her. Come on up a little bit further. Not really. Good. Okay. Take a look at our brand new balloon for the 2016 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. A balloon that is more than 60 feet long, and right now he's flying more than 7 stories in the air.
As a creator, this is a huge day because I started with a pencil sketch and we tried lots of different ideas, and we finally settled on this one. We wanted to do something really different, dramatic, and it's extremely exhilarating to see it come to life.
You can't believe how big these balloons are, and you cannot help but smile, no matter who you are.
Once I was asked to maybe sort of be in a song and dance thing. I said, no, that's not. I'll hold the balloon. I'll hold the balloon. I'd still hold the balloon. In fact, if somebody wants to take me up on that, I will be a balloon holder.
Great day for a parade.
I got some pull on this thing.
We train for this, actually. People don't know this, but we'll have training flights through the year so that we can give our pilots and captains practice at this.
When the balloons come, I look at the balloons first, and then the next thing I do, I look at the men and women who handle those balloons. And in bad weather and good weather and freezing temperatures, who hang onto that rope and walk and gingerly navigate those balloons through the streets of New York, and I give them a lot of credit.
gliding into view is a brand new Ronald McDonald balloon. Ronald's given a big thumbs up as he marches through the sky.
My all-time favorite balloon, I think, I'm a traditionalist. I think it has to be probably Bullwinkle. Watching Bullwinkle come through the streets of Manhattan with the large antlers and SpongeBob SquarePants.
From the sharks undersea to overhead, the world's most adored yellow sea sponge.
My favorite, I'm an old school guy. Popeye, Superman. Those are the classics to me.
Well, I am a huge Snoopy fan. If you snoop through the record books, you'll find that Snoopy holds the record for most appearances in the Macy's parade, flying first in 1968. Snoopy has to be in the parade forever, as far as I'm concerned. That was the balloon I always looked for when I was a little kid, and I'm still looking for Snoopy all these years later.
Did you know? The parade's very first character balloon was Felix the Cat in 1927. He'll make his triumphant return in this year's 90th. Coming up.
Only maybe 10 people in the history of the world ever did this.
We were just people standing on a big pile of fruit.
They're a troop of ordinary men showing off an array of extraordinary moves.
When Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th celebration continues.
They're called floats because they're always finished with a skirt around the outside and fringe at the bottom so that you can't see the wheels. So as you see it approaching, it looks like it's floating. In the Macy's Parade Studio, we have a lot of tools. We have a design area, we have a carpentry area, paint area, sculpting area. We've got an overhead 5-ton crane that can go the whole length of the building. So the process at our studio is very similar to the balloons. Get an idea, start sketching, get it to a rendering in full scale and color, and from that we go to a lot of measurements, sometimes a scale model.
Some of the newest floats are truly engineering marvels. The Goldie Blox float that was introduced to the parade in 2014 has been a wonderful addition because it sends such a great and important message to young girls everywhere.
Maxine Clark, who's the founder of Build-A-Bear, is one of my mentors. She said, Debbie, wouldn't it be great if Goldie Blox were in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and had its own float? Oh my gosh. I pictured it in my mind, actually, at that very moment, this engineering marvel. These parade floats are amazing. In my wildest dreams, I never would have thought that only 1 year later, we would have actually had our own real float in the parade. Okay, let's go forward now. Let's go forward, let's go forward. Backwards is fun. We worked really closely with the Macy's team. Everyone from painters to sculptors to structural engineers to mechanical engineers. There were probably over 50 people involved in putting this whole thing together. Happy Thanksgiving!
And here's one of the parade's most popular floats. Goldie Blox presents the elaborate girl-powered spinning machine. We have the best seat in the house because where we broadcast from is just center stage. So we get to see all the floats when they go by, and we see the people on the floats, and they wave at us. Well, we wave at them, and sometimes they wave back. The Cirque du Soleil float has added a very special element to the parade since 2013. It's one of the tallest and longest floats and features custom-designed trampolines. There are 20 amazing acrobats and other performers who make it a spectacular part of the parade.
Over the years, some of the greatest entertainers in the world have performed in the parade. There are stars of country music, R&B, and hip-hop, Oscar winners, contemporary artists, Motown legends, the biggest names in the history of rock, and even a late-night host.
I had the pleasure, and it really was a pleasure, only maybe 10 people in the history of the world ever did this. I rode the turkey down Broadway. And the turkey probably felt the same way about me.
There he is.
Willard lost his hat and his hair.
Coming down Broadway with all the people hanging out of the apartments and the offices, yelling your name, and wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. I mean to tell you, that was fabulous.
To ride on that float through those thousands and thousands of people and just look at people on the stands and all around the streets, up and down, that's my enduring memory. And I had a ball doing it.
Where you're on a float and people are waving to you and they have no clue who you are.
Well, yeah, because the show wasn't really, it might have been on, but it wasn't like known yet.
Right.
First year of Will and Grace, I mean, we'd been on for 2 months. Deborah and I were asked to be on a float in the Macy's parade, which is an incredible honor. We were on a giant cornucopia float, and people are shouting at us. It was so exciting, and I couldn't hear what they were shouting, and finally, I said, "What?" This guy said, "Who are you?" I said, "We're Will and Grace." And he said, "Who?" And that was, we realized no one knew who we were. We were just people standing on a big pile of fruit.
One thing that I think that's super special about Macy's is that we love these strange, weird, quirky groups that represent sort of small town America.
I love the jump roping groups because they're kids from all over the country, and they've worked so hard, and suddenly they find themselves on national television.
JUMP, JUMP, which stands for Jumpers United for the Macy's Parade.
You know, it's a really great thing for the whole country to see. They've worked so hard to get to that point. They're really talented, and it's a great moment, I think, for them and for all of us.
We have groups that are like drill routine groups with shopping carts. We had a briefcase drill team from Michigan who came and performed, and these are groups that like get together year round and perform in their local parades, and they have a ball doing it. And so we just think that's a hoot.
The novelty acts are where we have a lot of fun. And one of my favorites from recent years are the 6'10" Stompers.
They're a troupe of ordinary men showing off an array of extraordinary moves. Director Mont Creamer describing this is his description. Walking the fine line between being a precision drill dance team and a bunch of fat guys flailing their arms about. Sign me up.
Everybody loves the Spirit of America dancers. Actually, I was there the first year the cheerleaders appeared. That was 30 years ago in the 1986 parade.
Ready? Okay!
The cheerleaders stepped in to serve as balloon handlers in 1989 when the snowstorm prevented many volunteers from making it to the parade. They get there a week before, and they take over Manhattan, and you know it's parade week when you see them around town. They're also hard at work rehearsing all week in hotel ballrooms. It is a parade, but it's much more than that. I mean, it's a big talent show. It's an American jamboree. It's a huge dance party.
When we return.
And so even when I wasn't doing the parade, I was hanging out at the parade. So obviously it got in my blood. We were literally inside Macy's, pulling things off the racks so we could go out and do this crazy number.
When Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th celebration continues. Did you know? In 1958, the Radio City Rockettes made their debut in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. 2016 marks their 59th consecutive appearance.
Weather is an important factor because if it's too windy, the balloons have to come down lower. If it's way too windy, they may pull the balloons.
You want like 50, 60 degrees, slight breeze is okay.
We pray for a nice sunny day and calm winds.
Really nice and slow. Don't take it fast. If you get any wind at all during the parade, it's going to come from your park side.
If it's raining, People don't realize, but water adds literally a ton of weight to some of these balloons. I mean, literally a ton or more of rain can make those balloons so much heavier and have trouble controlling them and flying them.
Every year that we produce this parade, the weather changes day to day, moment by moment. We're moving forward, business as usual.
I remember '98 was a really wet year.
Just poured rain the entire time, and we were on a giant cornucopia float. So there we are, we're freezing, and it's hailing on us.
And just as Santa came into Herald Square, the sun came out, and boom, it was the holidays, and everybody forgot about literally being soaking wet.
Well, the skies have cleared, the rain has stopped. Now Illinois' big red marching machine breaks ranks to reveal the man of the moment. Santa has definitely come to town, and so has the 1998 holiday season.
Weather makes a huge difference. If it's bright and sunny and everything's going well, man, it's just a joy. But if it's ugly out there, you can't focus on what you have to do.
And I was asking a lot of people, what should we wear on the float? How warm do we have to dress? And I was getting a lot of, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But I did worry about it.
You had to appear like 4 o'clock in the morning in the Central Park, and it's cold.
You get up at like 5. You're so freezing.
It was cold, so I had thermals on underneath, and it started raining and raining and raining, and I was absolutely bitter, freezing cold and raining, and people were going, oh, Little House on the Prairie Girl.
We're going to have lots of fun. You stay with us for a whole 3 hours, and it is snowing here in New York. You're seeing what you get from Poor Willard's Almanac, real honest to goodness snow.
It snowed. And it wasn't a lot of snow, it was like 4 or 5 inches. And I was doing a huge number in front of the store with marching bands and baton twirling girls. We had to rehearse, their feet were soaked, they were frozen. We're literally inside Macy's, pulling things off the racks. We were wrapping them up. I remember I was massaging little, their feet, trying to get feelings back in their toes so we could go out and do this crazy number. They were troopers and they all, we got here, we're going out there. So everybody went out and we did this big number. It worked out.
I especially appreciate the Broadway performers on really cold days because they have to wear some pretty skimpy outfits. And I know how cold they must be, but they just get out there and the show must go on, and they really deliver for everybody who's watching the parade. There's so many wonderful shows to see, but not everyone can get to New York. So I love the idea of bringing a little piece of Broadway to everybody at home.
In 2002, I took over from Matthew Broderick in the Broadway production of The Producers. I was going to perform at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And it was a freezing cold day. We did the number. It was incredibly thrilling. The people in the street were incredibly appreciative, and we were freezing to death. And we were wet and shaking, but it was the highlight of my professional life.
My friend's apartment is eye level with the balloons. And to watch like Snoopy fly by your window at eye level there's nothing like it.
I did the parade for 4 years. I was hooked on it. I started a family shortly after that. And we would go, we were like Miracle on 34th Street. We'd rent a hotel room just high enough to be right above the floats. And so even when I wasn't doing the parade, I was hanging out at the parade. So obviously it got in my blood.
I always say that we have two different Macy's parades. There's the moving, thriving Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that you see march in front of you if you're in New York City seeing it live. And then there's the TV show.
We're on television because we are a fantastic event live on the street first. Most parades across the country, you're looking at an audience to left to right. But here, we're looking at people hanging out of their balconies, stories and stories above us. So we really program entertainment that plays up and to the left and to the right for 3 million people. And it's got to work live on the street for the New Yorkers. Then we look at how do we translate that live event to television.
Everybody along the side, it doesn't matter how old they are, they're all turned into kids on that day. And when those balloons go by, their eyes pop and their jaws drop open. And it's one giant family for over 2.5 miles.
I think what gets me coming back year after year is the complete joy that the parade brings to not only the million or so people gathered along the parade route, but the millions of people who watch at home.
I would encourage anyone who loves it on television to fly to New York and come see it live sometime, because it feels completely different live. But they're both beautiful, they're both special, and they're both the Macy's Parade.
People really want to see something out of the ordinary that they don't see every day.
We've got 900 clowns, 2,000 balloon handlers, about 400 float escorts, 400 kids, 75 stilt walker people. I mean, it just goes on and on. We have 500 people in officials' jackets, and so we have to distribute all those costumes on parade day and get them all back.
The best costumes are often the simplest costumes. It just is one of these things that's a throwback to a simple way of making people smile.
This is my 4th year, 30 years of Pilgrim.
We start off early in the year and we make sure that the float is designed so that it's got great entertainment value for Macy's and for telecast. And we create costumes that will do the same things that the float is going to do.
Many years when I hosted the parade, it was all about my hat. I would spend weeks agonizing. What hat was I going to wear? What coat was I going to wear? And now I look back at photographs of myself, and all I can say is, what was I thinking?
Coming up.
For a lot of people, that's their favorite part of the parade, is the parade before the parade.
It's just a fun New York tradition, and it's grown every year.
At midnight, really 12 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day, it's pure pandemonium.
When Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th celebration continues.
Let it raise up. Dennis, let it raise.
That's good. Just, if you can, pull that corner out just a little bit.
Well, everybody thinks about the balloons when they think about the parade, and it takes a long time to inflate these things. And it goes well into the night. They spend the day before inflating the balloons, and it's actually kind of fun to see. I kind of pictured some poor guy blowing into it, but it's a little more complicated than that.
When I used to live in New York City, one of my favorite things to do was the day before the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, they would blow up the balloons on 77th Street, and we would go up there and just sit and watch these things come to life, these giant, giant balloons.
When you're there and you actually see the size, the scale of these incredible balloons, you realize how special it really is.
There's just something about seeing the balloons lined up, ready to go the next day. It has this kind of backstage feel, and for a lot of people, that's their favorite part of the parade, is the parade before the parade.
It used to be a sleepy tradition that only New Yorkers knew about, and it used to take place within Central Park. Now it's a really big deal. If you're in New York the night before Thanksgiving, we could get up to 1 million people to the Upper West Side.
It's just a fun New York tradition, and it's grown every year. At the same time balloons are being inflated, the floats are making their way through the Lincoln Tunnel.
The floats take a lot of engineering, because the night before Thanksgiving, they've all got to come in a giant convoy over 1 mile long through the Lincoln Tunnel. Now that means they cannot be any taller than 12.5 feet. They can't be any wider than 8.5 feet as they're going through the tunnel.
Keep bumping up so that you're right behind him.
I'm kind of in the thick of it.
Passenger tire on the yellow line.
Then they get to the Upper West Side, where our teams break into 6 groups with 6 giant cranes and start picking up pieces and putting them all back together. And they grow from this 12.5 high and 8.5 wide to 3 lanes of the street wide and 3 stories tall, and sometimes 40 to even 60 feet long.
Tighten those on as tight as you can get them, all right?
All in 6 hours. Pretty amazing.
At midnight, really 12 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day, it's pure pandemonium.
Everyone that's going to get into a costume, we have to get those people dressed in a 2-hour span of time. So in a clown costume, in clown makeup, out the back door, and in a bus uptown so that they can be ready at starting line. So we've got 2 hours to do that with 4,000 people.
And at 3 a.m., bands start rehearsing. So when you watch those bands, by the way, during the parade, you have to appreciate and realize that they've been up since very, very early in the morning. Then at 7 a.m., the Broadway shows rehearse.
Hey, gang, we're going to go from the top again, please. 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5.
So everyone is very ready.
When I come out onto the street on parade morning, there's very few people.
And all of a sudden, all this activity is going on uptown, and the sun starts coming up over Central Park.
And there are 8,000 people around you that are going to bring this parade to life for 50 million people tuning in on television.
Parade morning always has a special energy to it.
Happy Thanksgiving!
It's the holiday, and we have usually the same crew every year that works on the parade.
And they're all happy. You know, in broadcasting, you get some situations sometimes where the crew isn't happy doing a show. Everybody loved the Macy's show.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, Al.
Mostly, I'm up near starting line.
Coming forward.
I try to make sure everything that we have produced is getting into the parade correctly.
You want to put him in the air?
I can pull him forward over here, right?
And then it's up and down the parade route, just checking on things and making sure everything's okay.
Part of the fun of Macy's Parade is that it's a live production. Not only is it live, but it starts miles away. And we cue it an hour before, and then we have to hope that it arrives to camera intact on time.
We're not going down the street again. We're starting uptown, and we're going downtown, and you get one shot.
I think the parade after 9/11 meant so much to not just New Yorkers, and not just to America, but I think to the world. The parade going on said, we will not be bowed. We will not give in. We are going to live our lives, we are going to celebrate our lives, and you're not going to stop that.
Events like the parade were so important because we were just shocked as a nation. And there it was, the parade as always, and Santa Claus as always, and it made life seem normal again.
We have a float called the Big Apple Float. There were a lot of police officers and firemen who put jackets on the floats representing the people that didn't make it.
After the trauma of 9/11, getting back to a sense of normalcy, while never forgetting what happened on 9/11 and never forgetting the people who lost their lives and the heroics that we saw that day, but that we all needed to be able to take a deep breath and have a couple of smiles and break the tension a bit. And I think that year the parade really helped to serve that purpose.
I think one of the most emotional moments from the 2001 parade, that was right after 9/11, was when Officer Daniel Rodriguez sang the national anthem. I'll never forget that.
O'er the land of the free and the
When we return,
The spirit of Santa means everything to the parade, and I think to America.
It's such a crescendo to the morning.
And that, of course, I think gets everyone excited for Christmas.
when Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade 90th celebration continues.
I mean, obviously, the highlight of the parade is when Santa comes to town.
For every kid watching at home, they may love the floats, they may love the clowns, they may love the balloons, but the pièce de résistance, of course, is Santa at the end of the parade. And that, of course, I think gets everyone excited for Christmas.
I'd say the big man in red is definitely waiting in the wings. Santa has entered the square. Time to cue those holiday tunes.
I think the spirit of Santa means everything to the parade, and I think to America.
And I don't care if you're 44 or 6 years old, you get excited because it's such a crescendo to the morning.
And it not only starts off your Thanksgiving, but it starts your holiday season.
Well, the big moment has arrived. Santa Claus has come to town, having traveled all the way from the North Pole to 34th Street. St. Nick rides in a colossal sleigh provided by Macy's and pulled by 8 faithful reindeer.
Santa is innocence and joy and tradition and rosy cheeks and reindeer and kids smiling. It's all those things wrapped up in one.
There aren't that many annual rituals that we can all share and that make us really feel like a community. And I think the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is one of those.
Everybody's got a smile on their face. It's the way the holiday should be.
Hosting the Macy's Parade was the highlight of my career. Of all the things I've ever done, and I've done a lot of things in my day, you felt like you'd participated and been a part of something that was really great. The Macy's Parade, I used to listen to it on the radio when I was a kid and always wanted to do it.
I bring my kids to the parade many years, and sometimes it's hard to stay focused on what I'm doing because I'm watching the expression on their faces.
I just love that it's something that everybody shares and everybody has this affection for, and it's something that we all share as Americans.
To be able to say that you're part of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, that people come up to you and say, I grew up watching you on this parade, that's pretty heady stuff. It's hard to resist.
One of my fondest memories of my dad was the year after my husband died in 1998. And my dad came with me to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It was just so sweet of my dad to come to New York from Virginia to be with me on a day that he knew was going to be pretty tough. And now that I've lost my dad, that was just really meaningful for me.